Hey, James with Love My Pups, my breeder supply. So, I haven't done a video in a little bit, so I thought, well, one thing we do, we get a lot of questions, people ask a lot of questions on our YouTube videos, and I try to respond to those, especially the ones that can be responded to with a simple answer. But I thought, well, what the heck, we'll just respond to some of these now. So I'm just going to go over a few of these. So they're not in any particular order, it's a bit jumbled up. Alright, so here's one from the other day. Very informational. I almost got scammed selling to some jerk in Nevada. Almost out $850 for a fake cashier's check. So, hey, good for you, honey from Nevada, that you didn't get taken. Be careful, folks, because I promise you, here's the deal. There's so much money in puppies, specifically what we deal with French bulldogs, that some of these dogs cost $5, $10, $15, $20,000. That means that there's going to be people out there who are going to try and separate yourself from your money. So if you're about to do a deal on a puppy, go back and review our video on how not to get scammed. And that's also if you're selling a dog. You can get scammed in either direction. You can get scammed selling a dog, you can get scammed buying a dog. You can get killed. You can show up somewhere, somebody thinks you're going to show up with $15,000 in your pocket. Some people would decide that it's worth killing you for $15,000. Be careful. Alright. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. My pup is a blue brindle, and they write down this, and they say that their dog is a Y-A-T D-D big B little b K-B-R-K-Y. So, are they right? Yes, they are right. So, what does this tell us? This little d is a blue dog. So that we know for a fact. This is a dog that has one copy of chocolate. So it does not show the chocolate. And if that actually came back from a test, that is what is called testable chocolate. This dog has one copy of brindle. There it is right there. Brindle's dominant, so that will show up as a blue brindle dog. Has a copy of tan points, but it's probably not going to show because of the brindle. So yes, you're right. Blue brindle dog. Very good. We are, by the way, going to do another video on coat color DNA, because I've had lots of people who've asked other questions and then come back and says, hey, give us some more. It was really useful. So we're going to try and make ourselves useful again, and we will do another video. Let's make a big old mess. Another video on that. We need to invest in an eraser. All right. Would a reading of 17.1 be too late to mate? Talk about progesterone levels here. So the rule of thumb is, and I'm going to do another video right after this, specifically on when is the right time to mate. But progesterone levels start day 1, they are less than 1. And typically by day 13, the dog is ready to be bred. Typically we breed dogs somewhere in this range here, 11 to 13. It's not definitive, but it's approximation. The progesterone level will be 15 at that point. About day 9, the dog is ovulating. Ovulation. And that typically is, that is a reading of 5. So it goes up, you can see here it goes up for the first 5 days, the number is something between less than 1 and 1. Then on day 6, 7, 8, 9, it's 2, 3, and 4. This is not an exact thing. Every dog can change a little bit, but approximation. So you can see that it gets to ovulating day 5, then it starts to go up really quickly. The next day after ovulation is an 8, the day after that is a 15. Her dogs are the 17. What does that mean? It means it's really close this time, because 15 and 17 are almost the same numbers. It goes up so quickly. That might be just a few hours from going from a 15 to a 17. So absolutely, breed a dog on 17, do it right now. Probably get the dog pregnant. All right. Oh, this is a bad one here. My dog, we're talking about, I did a video on CHV1, the canine herpes virus for dogs. They said, my dog is dying. I'm giving her the best days. She's having she can't poo and she can't eat. So, yeah. So, if you, I got a video on canine herpes virus. If you, in this situation, then what you should be doing is putting that dog in an incubator and keeping it at a temperature of 104 degrees or more. And the reason for that is the canine herpes virus is not a very robust virus, and it does not survive at those kind of temperatures. So if you can raise the dog's temperature up to 104, 105, you've got a good chance that you'll keep the virus under control, and the dog will then be able to, its own immune system will overcome the problem, and the dog will be fine. That's really all I know of that you can do in a situation like that. Certainly if you think that there is a possibility that canine herpes virus might be going to be happening to you, then get an incubator. We sell them. Get an incubator, My Breeder Supply. Have one on hand. Lifesaver. And then if your dog does succumb to it, you should probably do what's called a necropsy, where you basically look at the internal organs of the dog, specifically its kidneys, and find out whether or not there's hemorrhaging in there, and that'll tell you whether potentially you've got canine herpes virus. So you can decide what you're going to do next time. By the way, canine herpes virus is not a death nail to your dog. The dog's fine, and actually the dog can have other litters successfully, but this litter may be severely compromised. All right.
Now,
yes.
Question.
Yes.
What if you have more, let's say you got 5 or
that
8
unknown
puppies?
voice is Russ, by the way. Russ and I work together. Yeah, Russ, go ahead.
So how do I protect my other dogs if I got one dog that has it and the others don't?
Well, so the problem with the canine herpes virus is typically they get it as they pass through the vaginal tract, and so all the dogs in that litter typically get it. But the secret to it is put all the dogs in that litter in an environment of 104 degrees or more, and see whether they can survive that as things develop.
Should I be worried about, let's say, that I have previous litters from other dogs or my other
once
dogs?
a dog's got a dog that has canine herpes virus, it's like herpes in humans. It's contagious at certain times, so you've got to be careful about the rest of your population.
So I need to keep it away from all my other animals?
Well, possibly so. Again, I think the thing to do here is review that particular video that I have on that. So review that video, so before we get into too much depth. Okay, Chris Greer, please make another video showing some of the more advanced DNA stuff. Chris, you got it. It's coming up. Raquel, is there a way to get females back in heat if we miss the breeding window? Right, good one. So, dogs typically go into heat every 6 months, regardless of whether they've been bred or not. A dog that has been bred will have puppies in about 2 months. We'll wean those puppies in another 2 months. We'll come back into heat 2 more months. 6 month total time. It varies. Some dogs don't come in but once a year. Some dogs might not come in. It might come in once every 4 months. But a typical dog comes in once every 6 months. Can you do things to bring a dog back in? Well, if you've missed it, you've missed it. So you can't just wind the clock back 5 days and get the dog back into heat. That's not going to happen. But there are things that you can do to bring a dog into heat that's not, you think has been way too long. There's a pig hormone called PG600. I know a lot of people in the Frenchie side of things use it. I haven't used it myself. I've had customers who've used it. And there's another product out there that somebody told me about as well that you can give to a dog that maybe will increase litter size. Here's the deal on these things. I think they're suspect. So what goes through my head is, look, if we could time a litter and the size of a litter, we'd all be having litters for puppies that are around Christmas time. And since that's not happening, I suspect that these things are hit and miss. So I think that anytime you start to muck around with nature, you'd run a risk of potentially messing up the litter, or maybe even messing up your dame. So my advice would be tread carefully on this. I'm not the definitive answer on whether you should or shouldn't be doing this, certainly. But I personally have never done this, and always when I've had dogs that I'm worried that they haven't come into heat, they come into heat. It might take a year and a half, but they come into heat. And so my advice is generally be careful, start mucking around with drugs. All right.
Okay, another question.
Yes.
After a dog does have a litter, how long do you suggest before having impregnating them again?
So I've got another whole video on this. So I'm just going to touch on this really briefly. But basically my rule is, and this is my rule, you don't have to go by my rules. This is what I do. When we have a Frenchie, we have a C-section. When we have a C-section, the dog is opened up. When the dog's opened up, we get to look at the inside. So the first question of the vet is, how does her insides look? Does she have a lot of scarring and adhesion? If she does, then maybe it's time for a rest. If it's really bad, maybe it's time to call it quits. And by the way, if that case is that she's done, don't do a spay while you're doing a C-section. That's way too much of a load on the dog, and you're asking for trouble. So don't do that. So the next thing is, she looks good on the inside. Was the litter successful? Was she good to her babies? did she have a nice litter? And then fundamentally, probably the most important thing, did she bounce back after she weaned the puppies to a happy, healthy, normal-sized, active dog? And if the answer to all of that is yes, go ahead and breed her. If the answer to any of that is no, then you may want to rethink breeding her or giving her a break. Okay. How long do you wait to AI the female? At what age? So this question is, how old should a dog be before you start breeding a dog? So again, different people will tell you different things. For us, I wouldn't breed a dog that's less than a year old. I wouldn't breed a dog that's only around a year old and is very small. I would breed a dog that is getting close to its full weight. So it's typically a dog that's it's definitely over a year old, might be more like a year and a half old. And is acting not as a complete juvenile teenager jerk, but more as an adult dog that's mature enough to handle a litter. All right, so there's that one. Okay. Santiago says, what age is appropriate to breed a female? I have a 2-month-old French bulldog. I want to breed her. What's a good age? So this goes back to the other one. Now, again, at least a year old. Do you have an email to ask questions? That's a good one. Yeah, I do. So the email is James, which is me, at itlnet.net. People get confused because there's 2 nets in it. James at itlnet.net. And yeah, if you've got questions, absolutely email me. Okay, Samantha says, hi there. We have a litter of 3 blue lilac Frenchies. We're having a tough time with one gaining weight. We tube feed and have started puppy moves to see if it helps. He is still 250 grams. By the way, that's about 10 ounces, a bit less than that. At 3 weeks, the brothers and sisters are 2 pounds, so they're 32 ounces. He has matured the fastest with opening his eyes and walking. We just can't get him to grow. And also, pooping has been an issue with all of them. Please help. First time litter, mummy and daddy. Okay. So, yeah. So you've got a puppy that's very small compared to the rest of them. So you've got 2 pound puppies. These puppies are now at, so what do you say, 5 weeks old? I don't think she says how old they are. Well, anyway, we've got dogs that are 2 pounds. So we've got to be into this for quite some time. So these are probably 5-week-old puppies because they've got their eyes open, they're walking around. So they do that at 3 weeks, walking around. So these are probably 5-week-olds. So yeah, if you've got a dog that's very, very, very small, which this one is very, very, very small, you've probably got a problem on your hands. So you have to think about things like internal problems. The thing that comes to my mind immediately is what's called a liver shunt. A liver shunt is where you have a line in the liver that goes back onto itself. So the liver is not doing what it should supposed to be doing. And so liver shunts can be fixed, but you can't do those kind of surgeries on a puppy that is literally, 10 ounces. You got to wait till the puppy is 5 pounds. It's got to wait till the puppy is 6 months old, maybe more than 5 pounds. So yeah, there's something going on. Here's the first thing I would do, if possible. I'd try to take it to a vet and see if they can draw some blood, if that's possible, and do a blood panel on that dog and see what's going on, because that's going to tell a lot more about, there's something going on here. It's not normal to have a dog that is literally 1/4 of the weight of the other dogs. Unfortunately, it may not end well, but all you can do is go to the vet and get some professional advice. Okay, make a video about insemination. This is Eucalex. It says make a video about inseminations versus natural breedings, pros and cons. So I'm just going to touch on that one really quickly. So for us, we never do natural breedings with Frenchies. And we don't do natural breedings for Frenchies for a number of reasons. The first one is the French Bulldogs are not very good at getting this done. They have a hard time hooking up. And it's to do with short legs and their stature. Physically, the actual mechanism of getting hooked up is difficult. It's not to say that a Frenchie won't hook up, but what typically happens is the stud dog tries and tries and tries and tries, and he will exhaust himself. And then the other problem is he may end up ejaculating on the ground just when you needed that ejaculate to put into the dog. So you've now lost your opportunity to AI that dog that day. And then the other thing is that brucellosis and canine herpes virus, these are things that are sexually transmitted diseases that will be transmitted from one dog to another by nose to nose, nose to genital contact. And so if you do an artificial insemination, those situations basically go out of the way. You don't have those problems. So for two reasons, we don't do a natural AI. Now, big dogs, natural AIs, German Shepherds, Labradors, absolutely. I mean, again, you got this. You should have the dogs checked for brucellosis to make sure you don't have it's a $50 test, blood test. You should make sure that neither of the dogs has brucellosis, because that'll wipe a dog out, potentially wipe all of your dogs out as far as breeding. It won't kill them, but it'll make them barren. But yeah, big dogs, hey, there's an advantage of doing naturally. The first one is it's hard to AI and collect from big dogs. If you're in a situation where you've got an aggressive dog, you might get bit. I actually got bit the other day by a dog for the first time ever. A Frenchie, believe it or not. So, you're taking a little bit of risk when you do an AI versus if you let the dogs just get on with it. And I mean, I'm a firm believer that nature's a good way to let nature do its own course. So if you've got dogs that are going to be together for some time, hey, put them together and see what happens. But if they're small dogs, monitor it, make sure nobody gets hurt. I think that was all the questions.
One more question about that last question.
Yes.
The other side of the coin is natural birth. Some people have asked why we don't do natural birth instead of we do C-sections.
Yes, right. So there are certain dogs that almost most people most of the time do C-sections. French bulldogs would be one of them. 85% of all French bulldogs are born by C-section, not naturally whelped. What's the reason for that? The reason is that French bulldogs have big heads and small hips, and that is not a good recipe for a natural whelp. Dogs get stuck. You'll lose puppies, and you can even lose the mum over this. So my advice to anybody would be who has a French bulldog to absolutely not muck around with trying to do a natural whelp. Now, there'll be people who disagree with me. If you are going to do a natural whelp, then the precursor to this is to have a X-ray done or radiograph done 3 or 4 days prior to whelp, so you can see how many puppies you're dealing with, and whether or not there's a puppy with a big head in there. Because if there's a puppy with a big head, don't even try this. But if you've got 8 small puppies, then you might be decent sized girl, 8 small puppies, maybe this will work. If you're going to go through that route, have a vet on standby, so if you get into trouble, you can run to the vet and go get the C-section done. Other dogs like German Shepherds, Labradors, these things are pretty much always done just in natural whelps, and that's absolutely fine. But small dogs with big heads, these are the ones where C-sections are quite often done. English bulldogs, a lot, I think. I had a Chihuahua once. We had a C-section on her because she had so many puppies and she just ran out of steam. But I think the answer is you need specific to your breed. If people in your breed are doing C-sections, pay attention to it. If people in your breed are doing natural whelps, then do natural whelps.
Can we hit on one more question maybe at this time?
What's the question?
How do we choose a vet that's right for us?
Golly, Russ, you give me all these hard questions today. So in this town there's 5 vets, and there's another vet in the town close by, another vet, so 2 more vets within 40 miles, and one that's in Texas who's about 100 miles away, and we use all those guys. So how do we choose why do we use all those vets? One of the reasons is they go on vacation. Another one is that we want to have a C-section done, and if you think about it this way, 1/3 of all your C-sections are going to take place on the weekend, and so you've got to have a vet who's available. So to have a number of vets on hand is a good thing. Some of this is dictated by how you get along with the vet. Some of it's dictated by how accessible they are. Some of it's dictated by how much they charge. I'll give you an example on costs. To have a C-section done locally around here typically costs somewhere between $600 and $1,000, depending on whether it's regular hours or emergency. But if I go to Texas, I get 2 vets, a husband and wife team, and it's $250. So guess what? I take one of our incubators that Russ is leaning on right now. I take one of our incubators with us, and that's fine, Russ. I take one of our there's an incubator right there. Take one of our incubators with us, and they are born in the operating room and put straight into an incubator and brought home, and it's a completely safe trip home. So how do you choose your vet? I mean, talk to other people, see who they like, go visit the vet, see whether you like them. Get a feel for whether they specialize in your particular kind of breed. For instance, for Frenchies, for C-sections, you want to choose somebody who's done many C-sections. You don't want your dog to be the first one they've ever done, or the second or third or the fourth. You want somebody who's done 50 of these things. Then there's other things like, do they have in-house progesterone testing that can be useful? There's other things. I mean, you want to have a relationship with a vet, and so we have a relationship with a lot of vets because we do a lot of this, and we've done it for many, many years. But I think for most people, they're going to have one vet that they really like and to get a relationship with that vet and try to develop that. Okay. So questions? Yeah, send it to me. Make comments on YouTube if you like what we're doing. If you want to see other stuff, then let us know. We're here to help. We are Love My Pups. So we have a lot of French Bulldog stud dogs. That's what we do a lot of. So if you have a Frenchie that you're looking to get pregnant, I absolutely guarantee that we can help you with this, and everything comes with a money-back guarantee. We have done a huge amount of this. I mean, when I say a huge number, we've done at least 1,000 breedings. We've done that many of these. So we've developed a product specifically for this part of the process. We have a shipmate product. Let's see, you don't have one here, but that's fine. I should have these in front of me. But shipmate is used to ship semen all over the world. It's the only way, in my opinion, to get semen shipped somewhere reliably. So we have products like our whelping system, our whelping heaters. We have incubators. We have puppy whelping kits. MyBreederSupply.com is a source for all those things. And any time that we can be of help, even if you're not buying a product from us, even if you're not using one of our dogs, we are absolutely here to help you in any way that we can. Is our information accurate and correct? Not always. I'm sure we get things wrong. We're not vets, so don't come back and complain to us that we gave you the wrong answer, but we will honestly work very hard to try to find the right answer for what your question is every time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.